Actually, I'm not sure how many of you are aware of this, but this town meeting is on track to set a record for town meetings, and I am now going to wreck it. We were this close to getting through all the presentations without anyone mentioning Benjamin Rush. But I have to, and the reason I have to mention BR is that I discovered something about him that actually we have not mentioned before. You would think we'd covered all of the ground, but we haven't. One observation, insight about him, which I think is relevant to my presentation today, is Benjamin Rush never ever, not once, in his entire life used PowerPoint. And therefore, in the tradition of Benjamin Rush, faculty know I don't much like using PowerPoint, and so I'm not going to. I want to be very brief because you've had a lot of information presented to you, and I'm not going to talk particularly too much about numbers today. But I just want to raise one question and begin to answer it quickly. And that is, for us, the key question, even with the growth of the endowment, as Bob's remarks and Annette's too made clear, is we exist for a reason, and the reason is our students. They are why we exist as an institution, and it is their tuition money, or their parents, more accurately, that pays the bills around here. And so the question that we need to ask, and again, Bob's remarks really underline this, is why would students want to come here? What is it about Dickinson that has made it so compellingly attractive now to 5,500, 5,600 or more students every year, and how do we keep it so? I'm going to be looking at this in about a week for the trustees, and the way that I've thought about trying to answer for them, and I want them to keep it in their minds, so I tried to come up with something that's, I'll concede in advance, it's a little cutesy, is really in terms of 3 I's, the letter I. What is it about our academic experience particularly that would attract students? And the first I is that it is individualized. We give students individual attention. I was working with a book by a scholar just retired from Harvard. His name is James Kugel, and I'm reading the book because he's going to be here on January 31st giving a talk. His specialty is the Old Testament. And it says on the blurb for the book that Kugel's course is one of the most popular at Harvard, and it is routinely enrolled with 900 students. And I thought, it just, again, caught my attention. Of course, I know that classes are larger at the big public universities, but at places like Harvard, too, you're talking about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 900 students in a class. And obviously, that's not what we do, and it's not why people come here. So individualized instruction is part of it. Another part of it is, another I, is innovative instruction. There is a tendency, I think, for all of us, certainly me, to think about education as something that's pretty stable and it's somewhat unchanging. But in fact, the way that we teach students radically changes and at an ever-growing pace. I have the occasion now to pretty much every morning drop my 7-year-old grandson off at the Moreland School. It's where he goes for first grade. And that's where my daughter went long ago. And on the outside, the building's the same, and I have this tremendous sense of deja vu. I've been here and done this before, and it really hasn't changed. But then you walk into the classroom, and you find it's all different. Instead of the rows of little desks, and that's about it, with a blackboard, they're in pods. They have computers. They have all sorts of activities. It is a different world. And what goes on there goes on here even more so. The kind of instruction, the kind of education that we're giving our students is very, very different from the way that it used to be. And I could pick lots of examples, and I always get myself in big trouble with faculty when I pick one out and don't mention all of the others. But standing here staring at Hans Pfister here in the first row, that's my excuse, I will choose, workshop physics is a good example. If you want to get a sense of how education changes, go over to Tome, and I suspect many of you have done this, but if you haven't, make a point of it. Walk into the entryway and take a left down to the physics labs, and they will not look like traditional science classrooms. For me, a science classroom was a big lecture hall with the big desk in the front with the funny sink that looks sort of like this, and that's all gone now in favor of instruction that's imaginative, that involves students, that isn't passive, that's very active. And I can choose dozens of other examples from across the curriculum as well, and if I had more time, I would. So innovative instruction is part of the reason that students come here. And the last of my little 3 I's is that we have initiatives at this college. We don't view the curriculum as a balanced, static whole. We pick areas where we want to do special, exciting things, areas that typically connect with big issues in the wider world. The best example so far, I would say, is our global education program. We have arguably, and we don't just say it, outsiders do too, the best global education program in America. It's an example of a major initiative that we've undertaken. The science initiative over the last decade, which has increased our percentage of science majors by 75%, and a majority of them women, at a time when the country is crying for more scientists, and when the issue of why more women aren't in science is a compelling one, we have taken this on and achieved something quite remarkable. So we have individualized instruction, it's innovative, and we do big initiatives here. Those are the things that are currently going on with the academic program, those 3 things. In terms of individualized instruction, we are adding faculty. Several of the other speakers mentioned that. Interestingly enough, although our classes are small, the average size is 18. Remember the Harvard lecture of 900, 18, pretty small. But our peer institutions have even smaller classes. In terms of student-faculty ratios, we're at about 11 or 12 to 1, depending on how you count. Many of our peer institutions are at 10 to 1 or 9 to 1. Williams, with their huge endowment, is at 7 to 1. And so we're adding faculty in order to be able to continue to provide individualized instruction. We're also trying to keep our instruction innovative. Part of that is the new buildings. The new science building is going to reflect a lot of the very imaginative ways that we teach science. But adding faculty and reconfiguring the course load. You heard a couple of mentions that faculty here traditionally have taught 6 courses a year, and now they will teach 5. And this is not because we want to make it easier for faculty. We want to, in fact, free up faculty to do more individualized instruction, to do things like create mosaic programs, run programs abroad, do better advising. Reducing the course load is a reflection of our need to increase the kind of intensity of faculty interaction with students. And so we're pushing innovative teaching partly through reconfiguring the course load. And lastly, we are on the verge of initiating, or really have started to initiate, yet another major undertaking, a major new initiative at the college, and that is in the area of environmental and sustainability studies. Interestingly enough, Dickinson already is very well established in this area, partly because we have a strong environmental studies program academically, but also in a very major way because of what you folk do. Dickinson's operations are a national model for environmental and sustainability awareness. Fairly recently, the Sustainable Endowment Institute did a grading of 200 colleges and universities in terms of how they performed in environmental and sustainability matters. And Dickinson got a grade of B+, which was the highest rating in the state of Pennsylvania. The highest rating in Pennsylvania. We're one of 25 model colleges nationally for how we operate in terms of sustainability and environmentalism. And we thought, when looking at this, we thought, here's an opportunity for operations and the academic program to do something extraordinary. And so we applied for a major grant to push forward the academic program to make it a model for environmental and sustainability education too. And we were recently awarded a $1.4 million grant by the Mellon Foundation in order to do just this. And in fact, as soon as I finish my remarks, very unobtrusively, so none of you can notice, I'm going to tiptoe out of here because I have to be in Washington this evening to be at a meeting of a Council of Environmental Deans and Directors to begin our interaction with the wider academic community on the environmental scene. And so we will be doing a lot of things, interesting things that interact between the academic program and operations and facilities and dining services, the entire campus, really all of us pulling together in our most recent initiative, one that will keep the college dynamic and will keep students wanting to come here. Thank you.